Now, prostitution. Just the word sounds bad. Offering sex for money has been called violent exploitation of women, commercialized rape, sexual slavery.
Do you have anything to say, ma'am?
The women hide their faces in what you may think is shame.
Police and TV reporters treat prostitution like most other crimes.
We got exclusive pictures as Vice cops set up a sting at a Center City hotel. Cops, posing as Johns, easily lured 5 women to the high-rise hotel, calling a variety of websites, Craigslist, newspaper ads, even using the Yellow Pages.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been difficult. The Yellow Pages in my town have 15 pages of escort services.
We made some phone calls, and the girls answered the ads and came to this location and solicited our officers for sex for money.
They were arrested.
As one officer put it to them, jail just may be the safest place these high-end hookers have ever been.
What? Really? Jail, the safest place high-end hookers have ever been? Where prostitution's legal in parts of Nevada, for example, there's almost no violence. Some prostitutes' lives are plagued by violence, but that's not because they're sex workers. It's because prostitution's illegal, like booze used to be. Banning consensual acts between adults has nasty side effects, and that's the reason I say let it be legal. Let consenting adults do whatever they want to do. But former prosecutor Wendy Murphy strongly disagrees, and she joins me now from Dallas. Wendy, you've said prostitution is sexual slavery. Is that right?
Yeah, and I'm so glad you remembered when we last talked about this. It is a form of sexual slavery because it's not that far from directly selling the body. It just happens to involve sexual activity as opposed to just owning a person and sending them into the fields to pick cotton for free. And, you know, to disrespect that connection, I think, is to dishonor the point, which is that this is uniquely a problem for women almost exclusively. If you legalize or decriminalize the activity, it gets worse, not better. And,
Why?
you know, it's just uncivilized,
Wendy,
John, to let people sell themselves.
Why does it get worse, not better, if you decriminalize it?
Well, that's what the studies show. You know, people like to say, oh, let's decriminalize and take the money out of organized crime. That's not what happens. Organized crime still makes a lot of money. The business blooms, and more women and, frankly, children end up getting victimized because the more you legitimize the behavior, the more it happens. No surprise, because men want to have sex, and they want it on demand, and that's what prostitution provides for them, what they want, when they want it, for a fee.
And I don't get why you say it has anything to do with slavery. Slavery is force. With prostitution, the woman is choosing to rent out her body.
You know, we can debate whether it's an actual choice. If the choice is between homelessness, living in a box down by the river, and selling your body for money.
Well, she has other choices. She can take a minimum wage job at McDonald's. She doesn't have to sleep in a box. I assume a sex worker is choosing that profession. We have a former sex worker in the audience. Your name is Kat Smith.
Kat Smith, yes.
Is that your real name?
Yes.
Okay. She said that when you were a sex worker, you were like a slave.
No. I'm college educated. There are a large percentage of us who are college educated. We just enjoy sex and fulfilling men's fantasies. It's a great way to make money. It's a win-win situation. The men love us. We love our jobs. What's the problem? There's no slavery.
Well, the problem is a lot of women are abused in prostitution. I would argue that's because it's underground. But
Exactly.
Wendy, what do you say to what she says?
Exactly.
No, you know, she's not the first person I've heard say, I actually enjoy it and I don't feel exploited. It's certainly possible for a woman to have that experience, but you have to care about the class of people we're talking about. It's usually poor women, women who've been victimized sexually as children. The average age at which a woman globally enters prostitution is 13, and understand that they are, on average, not happy with the business and would choose something else if they could, but they can't. So the fact that you found one woman and put her in the audience, you know, that doesn't prove that huge numbers of women and women as a class and children as a class are not suffering terribly. And it is a form of slavery.
I just say they suffer.
Selling the self.
I'm just saying they're suffering because it's illegal and they have to hide and they can't rely on the police to protect them. And in Nevada, in most of Nevada where it is legal, there's no crime. There's no HIV. In Las Vegas, where it's illegal, there is crime.
Exactly. Where are you getting
that's
these
just not
statistics?
true.
Where are you getting these statistics that most sex workers are enslaved and they hate their jobs and their only other job is working minimum wage at McDonald's? A lot of us are college educated and we enjoy it.
I respect that you can make that choice, but you have to be careful not to judge everybody as if they're just like you. Most of the people are exploited and poor, women of color, women of disadvantaged homes who were abused as children. The research is out there. You know, I cite the study for you if you want me to pull it up on my laptop.
Yes,
even sex workers / prostitutes, if you interview them today, and the research is all over the place on this. I mean, you can find it easily. It's over and over again. The same thing is proved. If you ask them if it's a fun, good job and they enjoy it and they feel loved, no, they feel exploited, abused. There's a lot of violence in prostitution, whether it's legal or not. So your experience is not really the experience of most women, and I respect what you're saying.
Wendy, I mean, I don't find my job a fun, good job all the time, and I'm just puzzled by prostitution's illegal now, yet it happens all the time. And I look in the yellow pages in my town, and there's just page after page of these so-called escort services. This law is on the books. It's not enforced. This allows the police to prosecute people of color if they choose, as you say. This is a recipe for abuse.
I would argue that
what you're pointing out.
I would argue that those statistics say, like, women like me it's illegal. They don't want to come out and say they enjoy their jobs. It takes a lot of guts to go on national television to say I used to be a dom and I have several friends who are escorts and we love our jobs.
That's dominatrix?
Yes,
Well,
dominatrix.
don't know the term.
Dominatrix,
You're right,
escort.
though, John.
But Wendy,
you're right about one thing.
Kat, let
It is
Wendy.
not enforced enough. If it's not enforced enough, when we do enforce these laws, unfortunately, we end up prosecuting the woman and not the Johns. We need to do better enforcement. We need to culturally make men feel bad for doing this to women because it does subjugate them. It is inhumane to treat people like chattel, and that's what this is. Roughly speaking, you're saying we should sell access to intimate body parts like women are boxes of potato chips. You can't treat human beings that way and expect to live in a civilized society, especially when you're subjugating a whole class. Just females are suffering, and that's not fair, and it's uncivilized, it's un-American.
I used to get 50 phone calls and 50 emails a day. I could totally decide who, what, when, where. If a guy treated me wrong, said the wrong thing, you kick him out. It's kind of empowering as a female.
Two very different opinions. Thank you, Kat Smith and Wendy Murphy. Next, prohibition that kills people. By some counts, 100 Americans a week. Hundreds of thousands of lives would be saved if only government would butt out.